exclusive forum featuring the candidates for LA County District Attorney. Join KBLA's Tavis Smiley as he helps navigate what promises to be a forum full of fire when the candidates trying to unseat current LA DA George Gascon come together on stage on the campus of the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. Again, it's the LA County District Attorney Forum, live, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580, Saturday morning, January 13th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Helping to raise your civic IQ. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Good evening. This is
Avi Bernard.
Very happy I am to be back in the United States and back on the network, even for so short a visit as this one. A lot of people asked us to do it again, so it's gratifying to get the chance now. Personally, I've never met anybody who didn't like
KBLA Talk 1580.
But it seems I do have a reputation for the uncanny. I'm an overpaid producer with pleasant reasons to rejoice, and I do. But surely my right to having more than enough is canceled if I don't use that more to help those who have less. We must each day earn what we own. A healthy man owes to the sick all that he can do for them. An educated man owes to the ignorant all that he can do for them. A free man owes to the world's slaves all that he can do for them. If we can't die in behalf of progress, we can live for it. If we waste that gift, we won't have anywhere to hide from the indignation of history.
This is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time with Avi Bernard.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
The dawn is hours before. We knew it. Somehow we do it.
The cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
And it is the Friday edition. Avi Bernard here with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. Let's get you caught up. Donald Trump's unprecedented attacks on the judicial system are frequently tied to developments in his court cases, according to an NBC News analysis of his social media platform. And at times, they've even outnumbered his posts about his re-election bid. NBC News analyzed more than 14,000 Trump posts and reposts on Truth Social from April 2022 to January 6th of this year, and found he often uses the platform as a megaphone to attack people and agencies involved in his numerous legal cases. For most of the first half of 2023, a larger share of Trump's posts were dedicated to his legal issues, more of them were dedicated to his legal issues than his presidential campaign. A Black woman hired by a northern Utah school district to investigate a racial harassment complaints the year after a 10-year-old Black student died by suicide says that she too experienced discrimination from district officials. Jocelyn Thomas alleges in a federal lawsuit that district staff treated her as if she were stupid, accused her of having a substandard work ethic, and denied her training and mentorship opportunities that were afforded to her white colleagues. Thomas was part of a wave of new hires in 2022 after the U.S. Department of Justice ordered the district in a settlement agreement to create an office tasked with investigating and addressing reports of racial harassment. The order stemmed from a 2021 federal investigation which uncovered widespread racial harassment of Black and Asian American students in the district just north of Salt Lake City, including hundreds of documented uses of the N-word and other derogatory epithets over a 5-year period. Representative Pat Ryan is launching a congressional battle against the NFL and NBC for requiring fans to download the streaming app Peacock in order to watch the Kansas City Chiefs and Miami Dolphins wild card playoff game this weekend. In a letter, Ryan, who's a New York Democrat now serving his first full term in office, blasted the decision for forcing fans to, quote, choose between signing up for yet another expensive streaming service or missing out on a major playoff game, close quote. In the months after the 2020 election, Donald Trump leaned on his campaign to launch ad blitzes and legal challenges to the results, insisting to his supporters that the election was a long way from over. He even told state and federal courts he was suing in his capacity as a political candidate. But now, in a bid to derail criminal charges, he's saying the opposite. At least 6 times in the past 2 weeks, Trump has declared that the election was long over by the time he had began pushing states officials and then Vice President Mike Pence to overturn his defeat. And Black people accounted for nearly 13% of traffic stops in California in 2022, far above their 5% share of the state's population, according to a report released Wednesday under a law designed to address racial profiling of motorists and pedestrians by police. The annual report, compiled by California's Racial and Identity Profiling Advisory Board, for the first time included data from all law enforcement agencies in the state. It is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. Avi Bernard with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific, and I am joined, as I'm always glad to be, by Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University and Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. It is the Friday group chat. We haven't had one in a while because we had the new year, and now we're about to get into it. Not only the topics I just mentioned, but of course, in hour two, we're going to be talking about Stephen A. Smith completely unloading on Jason Whitlock. We're going to be talking about maybe some people hating on NWA and whether they should be receiving the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award next month, and talking about Nick Saban and Bill Belichick retiring, two of the most high-profile coaches of all time, both leaving their jobs in the same week, and why one conservative is now saying that the Civil Rights Act should have never happened. Actually a thing. And of course, this hour we'll be talking about, we'll get into our segment, our Friday segment, What in the White Privilege. We'll be coming to you with that later this hour. And we'll get right into it after this break when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
On your period, sudden gushes happen without warning. But now you can say goodbye to stand-up gush fears thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology. It absorbs gushes 2 times faster than the leading store brand and gives you up to 100% leak-free protection. Hello, clean and comfortable with Always Fear No Gush.
Granddad, what's good?
Hey there, got us a quarter pounder with cheese and McNuggets.
Wow, haven't had our special McDonald's order in a minute.
Heard your little tic-tac-toe dance didn't get no likes.
Oh man, is Mom telling everybody?
You know she is.
There's a deal for every favorite grandson at McDonald's. Right now, get one favorite like a quarter pounder with cheese or 10-piece chicken McNuggets and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition, and it's Avi Bernard, Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. And thank you for joining us, whether you're listening on KBLA 1580 AM or on the free KBLA app or watching us on YouTube. Joined today, it is the Friday group chat. Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker, and Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University. All right, guys, always glad to be having this conversation with you. Sean, Dr. Fletcher, what's the word?
What's up, good brother? Is it faux pas to say Happy New Year? We haven't officially seen each other on KBLA in the new year. I know we group chat, but I know it's probably faux pas for people listening. It's way past time, but still, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And you know what? This is a conversation I do have from time to time. What is the deadline that you have to stop saying Happy New Year? I know at the latest, it's the last day in January, at the very latest. And I once had someone tell me Happy New Year in mid-February, and I was like, you know what? This is just...
It's when I see you.
It's whenever the first time I see you in the year. I don't care if it's March. Happy New Year. But what's up, Danny?
Oh, man, wonderful, man. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're going to keep saying it throughout the show, too. People are going like, what's going on? But let's talk about this this NBC News report. So Donald Trump's attacks on the judicial system are frequently tied to developments in his court cases. So he's not just attacking them to attack them or because he feels like they're corrupt. He attacks them because he's under investigation. And the analysis showed more than 14,000. Now, this was the most stunning part for me, because we all know that Donald Trump just talks about what's going on with him, and he doesn't care about what's happening with anybody else. He's going to talk about what's going on with him as if it's a national crisis. So 14,000 posts and reposts from Donald Trump's social media platform between April of 2022 and January 6th of this year, about a week ago, found that he often uses his platform to attack people and agencies who are involved in his legal cases. So this is how he got the gag order against him, but just the sheer volume of time that this dude spends on social media and the way he's using his time. I mean, we all knew that he has no life. He doesn't have anybody he actually cares about. All he does is just kind of complain and enjoy the white privilege that he has. But what are your thoughts on this, Dr. Fletcher? Let's start with you on this one. And Trump just 14,000 posts in a year and a half, 14,000 posts, and many of them aimed at attacking federal agencies and his political rivals.
It's more of the same. It's from the Trumpian playbook. It's nothing new. It's just we're in election year now. And the strategy is going into the second phase, if you will, to where, like many nefarious leaders over the course of history, if you could present yourself as a martyr, you can potentially gain favor by those who already follow you. They will just follow you more strongly. And we're seeing it in the polls. We're seeing it. He is getting more and more popular. Well, now he's going to be able to just check the box. It's a foregone conclusion. He's going to get the nomination. All right. Now, I believe he's starting to set his strategic, as loosely put as I can use strategic, he's starting to set his strategic eye on the national election now. So now he's talking to the masses. Now he's trying to position himself as a Democratic Party target, and the witch hunts and all this stuff that has been happening and he's been parroting for years now is starting to stoke back up, and it's going to get stronger. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous rhetoric. He's thumbing his nose again at the judicial and our legal system, and he's daring them to say, do something about it. If you don't want me targeting, do something about it. And we're not.
We are definitely not. And no one has ever done anything about anything that he's done. He has never been held responsible for anything. And now that he is on the verge of being held responsible, he's sort of being held responsible. He's on track to being held responsible for something. he just is losing his mind every day in public. Danny, I know that you don't have social media, so I mean, I don't know if you can answer about the volume of posts, but I wanted to ask you about since as Dr. Fletcher mentioned, it is officially an election year now, and Trump just about has the nomination locked up. He has it locked up as much as you can without officially being the nominee. And now he has to turn his focus to the general election, which is, I guess he kind of always has been, because there was never any serious challenge to his candidacy, to him getting the nomination, the Republican nomination. But one thing that is different about the general election in this case is that more people will be paying attention, because not everyone is like us where we read this stuff and pay attention to this stuff all the time. Most people, the vast majority of Americans, do not pay any attention to politics up until the election is nearing. So I guarantee you a lot of people don't even know that Trump's about to be the nominee. They're probably like, what? This dude, right? And so as we get closer and closer to the election, more people are going to be tapping in, paying attention. They're going to remember what it was like to have him as president, as crazy as that is. He actually was the president. And it's been 4 years now, but man, those were some dark days. And so, Danny, do you think that the way in which he's using his social media and just getting kind of crazier and crazier, he's saying on day one, I'll be a dictator. He's not hiding his true intentions anymore. So do you think that even though Trump is ahead in the polls right now, even he's beating Joe Biden in the polls and the average of polls, do you think that when more people start paying attention that Trump will slip in the polls? What are your thoughts on where he stands now versus where he'll stand in a few months? Oh, you're muted.
I said that kind of depends, right? Because we have our own opinions and perspectives on former President Trump, but some people are rocking with him, right? And then you got some people on the cuffs, and that's how you flip a state, or you flip an area, or you flip an individual voter. So my thing is, it depends on how the flow is, right? The more people that you flip, the more people that you convince that was clearly on the other side. My thing is, he's clearly manipulating and leveraging his social influence on people by naming specific people, judges, prosecutors, which is giving his claim validity, right? To some. But the thing that's concerning to me is that, it's an argument. We can't vote this guy in. Look what happened before. And then some people are bewildered and like, oh, I don't know what to do. And now you start naming these judges and saying they're against me, woe is me, and you play the victim. And if you have any substantial evidence about that, and then you kind of on the fence, and then you look on the news and you see war, and then you see your mortgage statement come in, and then you see this, you see that, and people start thinking like, oh man, I don't know what happened before. I'm not a minority. That didn't affect me racially, but my mortgage rate, my crime, my this, and that's how you trick people. So it kind of depends on where people are at that very moment in their life when this election comes around. This just gives him leverage, and it's almost blatant propaganda, right? To some. It's basically propaganda. I'm not saying I feel that way, but I'm just saying to a lot of people, they feel he's using social media. That's why he was banned before. Now he's been allowed back on the platform. And if he uses this platform to mislead people or give false statements or manipulate people, that's basically propaganda to some.
It is propaganda. That's exactly what it is. It's 100% propaganda. And he was banned from Twitter, and he was allowed back on by none other than Elon Musk, who changed it to X, stupid name. And he hasn't been back on Twitter to my knowledge. He's stayed on his stupid little platform that no one goes on unless they drink his type of Kool-Aid. So yeah, man, I mean, I think, And I know that people are worried, rightfully so, about him leading in the polls and how easily he's getting this nomination. But I do think, in my opinion, that if we all stay focused and continue to get people to vote, to encourage people to get engaged and understand what's happening, then they're going to realize that going back in the direction of Trump would be a grave mistake for all of us. Even people who support him, it would hurt all of us if he became president again. But moving on to the situation in Utah. So a Black woman was hired by a Northern Utah school district to investigate racial harassment complaints. So she was brought in the year after a 10-year-old Black student died by suicide. And so this woman comes in to investigate racial harassment in the Utah school district, and she says that she too experienced discrimination from district officials. So the discrimination is not only she was experiencing bullying from her classmates, and some of that bullying, and that bullying was not just leveled at her, it was towards all Black students, and there weren't many. I believe 1% of the student population in the district was Black, and some of that harassment included, or some of that bullying and harassment included saying, "You are my slave," saying that, "Oh, go pick some cotton," or saying that your skin looks like dirt or like feces. So, and these attacks, and of course, many uses of the N-word, and these attacks went unpunished in many instances by school administrators. And so this woman comes in to investigate this, and it turns out that not only was it happening from the students, but it goes all the way up to district officials. So Black students were being punished more harshly for the same things than their white classmates. In addition to getting bullied from your white classmates when you're one of a few, if not the only Black person in your class or in your school, you also have to deal with harsher punishments from school administrators. And those biases are now, according to this report, held by the school administrators as well, the principals, the superintendents. I mean, this is just, I don't think this is surprising to anyone, but when you just really put it into context and think about it, you know, we've all been in spaces where we're the only Black person, even if it was temporarily or just for an hour, a conference or something. You feel that, just even being the only Black person, you feel it. Even if no one in that space is making you feel it intentionally or overtly, you still feel it. And now you imagine dealing with all the things that these students had to deal with. And this woman, who is a professional Black woman, she's saying it goes all the way up to the administrators. So Danny, man, you're an educator. You know, you spend a lot of time in schools and mostly Black schools, but we've all been but you have been, you know, you went to a PWI, as did I, as did all of us, I think. Yeah, as all of us did. And so, you know, I mean, you know what it's like to be in that space. What would you say to Black parents and Black students who are in a district like that? Because I mean, Utah is the only place, you know, Utah, they're supposed to be more righteous. They're religious in Utah. They're Mormons there. And so what do you think about anything that you saw in this report or just even more broadly thinking about what it's like to be a parent or a student in that situation?
First of all, so Utah is a little different because now you're dealing with the entire state, and some of the places are a little more rural. Salt Lake has a lot more diversity. They have a large Polynesian population, and I'm sure Dr. Fletcher knows that. All the football players, you know, we got a lot of football guys from via Hawaii, Samoa, Tonga. They come to Southern California, Carson, Long Beach, and a lot of them go to Utah. They have great experience. I have a friend that's been there for 30 years. And one of my teammates from UNLV, Everett Great, lives there. So, you know, but when you dip off about 10 miles away, 15 miles away, it's like you're in a whole nother different thing. So my thing is, when you're in that situation, you got to document, right? And that could be paper or pen. That could be via notes on your iPhone, email, something. You got to document. And you also have to alert district officials. And knowing that the young lady lost...
I'm going to interrupt you. Just let me pause you right there. But if those district officials, as we're seeing in this report, are part of the problem, you can't let them is not going to do anything. Let them know it's not going to do anything.
But you got to name them. You got to name them, Avi. I'm going to tell you why. Because if this young lady doesn't take her own life and don't get bullied, this probably would still be going on right now. And the African-American person, Jocelyn Thomas, probably wouldn't even got that job because it wouldn't have been no office created to investigate racial harassment and discrimination. It would have still been going on because it's been going on for a long time, for decades. So what you got to understand is it came to light because that's unprecedented and it's not normalized yet. Hopefully it doesn't become normalized that a fifth grader commits suicide, because it wasn't just bullying either, right? It's racial bullying. It is a little different. It cuts a little differently, right? Being called the N-word on a daily basis and being bullied with racial epithets written and said to you daily. But my thing is, how sad is it that the federal government got involved because of a fifth grader's death, right? That's why it should be task force. It should be a task force nationwide in all states, especially states where it's not a lot of diversity, for people can go to this. Because we have whistleblower implementations for companies and different things, but we need something intact in terms of a whistleblower type of thing within school districts, so situations like this won't occur. So you can report the school district, the teacher, the students, everybody, to a government entity. And I don't want to say state, because we know some of our states are corrupt as well, and they're not used to diversity, and they want to dog you out as well. That's why I say it should be something federally implemented nationwide where you can report this, because this is an atrocity. And how are you going to hire somebody that's an African-American to meet your quota, right? And then you end up doing the same thing to her because it's a system.
We got to step aside real quick, and we'll continue this conversation, and we'll get Dr. Fletcher's thoughts, and that'll probably take us to the top of the hour. But I do want to continue this conversation because it's important. And some of the things you're saying, Danny, I mean, I hear you, but we'll get into it right after this news, traffic, and sports update. And of course, we'll also have What in the White Privilege after this news, traffic, and sports update right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Martin Luther King Jr. Day recognitions begin in South Carolina this weekend. An MLK community breakfast was held at Furman University this morning. A Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast celebration is happening for the 13th year in New York, and MLK Legacy Breakfast is planned at the Unity Park Welcome Center. Then on Saturday, the YMCA Greater Spartanburg is holding the MLK Walk as one event. Another event honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is planned in Greenville on Sunday. The Martin Luther King celebration at Coffee Underground is happening at 7:30 p.m. Michael Jackson's upcoming biopic is getting an official release date. The film titled Michael is set to debut globally on April 18th of 2025. Jackson's nephew Jafar Jackson will portray the late pop star in the project. Graham King, who worked on the Oscar-winning biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, is also producing Michael. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
In downtown Los Angeles on the 10 West at Alameda Street, got a small take up the 2 right lanes with traffic slow for the 5 and the 101 split. In Linwood on the 105 East before the 710 in Garfield, got a crash with the right shoulder. This was an overturned injury crash. Traffic slow from the 405. Long Beach 405 north connected to the 710. That crash is blocking lanes with the connector to the 710 north. And then Lennox on the 405 south connected to the 105. That's a singular stalled vehicle as the left lane of the transition of the 105 East block.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. The number of black head coaches in the NFL went up from 3 to 4 Friday morning. The New England Patriots promoted linebackers coach Gerard Mayo to replace Bill Belichick. At 37, Mayo is the NFL's youngest head coach. Mayo is also the first black head coach in the 65-year history of the Patriots franchise. 7 teams are still looking for a head coach for next season. The Chargers, the Raiders, Atlanta, Carolina, Seattle, Tennessee, and Washington. The other 3 NFL black head coaches have their teams in the playoffs this weekend. Saturday afternoon, Houston's DeMeco Ryan will lead his team at home against Cleveland. Mike Tomlin and his Pittsburgh Steelers are in Buffalo Sunday morning. Todd Bowles and his Tampa Bay Bucks are at home Monday night against Philadelphia. Good luck to all 3. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your beer. Follow the leader. Following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
There are many things to love about winter. Cozy sweaters, celebrations, and family time. But winter can also bring many stressors, extra expenses, seasonal bugs, and so much family time. If you and your loved ones are feeling stressed or anxious this winter, CalHope can help. Check out our free mental health resource at calhope.org today.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard here with Dr. Sean Fletcher and Danny Griffin. Friends of the program, not program, program. And it is the Friday group chat. And we're talking about the situation in Utah in which a 10-year-old black girl died by suicide after encountering an unbelievably horrible amount of racial bullying. And one of the things you were saying, Danny, is that, you know, this is just that part of Utah, and Salt Lake City is a lot better. But there are parts of every state that have this racial discrimination problem, including our state of California. outside of Los Angeles, San Francisco, and other parts of the Bay Area, and San Diego, and shoot, even San Diego to some extent. I mean, you're talking about a lot of rural areas in California that have, I guarantee you, have the same issue. And so it doesn't matter if it's the whole state or just parts of the state, but we need to be aware that this is happening. And I do like your idea of, I don't know how much this would cost or how it will be implemented, but some kind of national reporting system for people in schools to have a way to notify some kind of task force or central agency that worked on this kind of thing. Because school is hard as it is. School is hard in the best of conditions. It's hard to get to school, especially for students who are impoverished or having some kind of issues at home, or even if you don't have those issues. I mean, just showing up to school every day is not easy. I mean, all of us have experienced it. And so, but when you add in stuff like this, man, I can't even imagine. I don't think I would have finished school. I mean, and now you're asking Black kids and Asian kids who are also subject of this bullying, according to this report, and other minorities in all parts of the country that have to go through school experiencing this. But Dr. Fletcher, you're also an educator, and I know you got some thoughts about this, but shoot, let us have them.
Yeah, so much for this post-racial society. Folks want us to think that we live in, right?
Racism doesn't exist. It's America. It's not a racist country.
Right. Shout out to Tim Scott and the other wackos out there who still pirate this type of nonsense in the midst of us seeing examples like this to the contrary. So in this type of situation, when you see that Black kids in this district are 1% of 74,000, I read, students in this school district, there is no one advocating for them. There is no one to police the police. And the problem that I have with this from a systemic standpoint, and we see it across the board on every different level, whether it be primary, whether it be interscholastic on the high school level, whether it be college, whether it be whatever level, systemically putting measures in place that allow for equity is this ever evading issue that we tend to find. And it's no different in this situation, to where everything about this situation, the Department of Justice got involved. The Department of Justice got involved and launched this federal probe that other measures stemmed from it. Task forces were created and all that. Where's the Department of Education in this? Where's the department that's supposed to actually put some measures in place and not? It's almost like over policing that we talk about in society at large, where you're gonna over police a society in order to rehabilitate them, in order to put a equitable system in place. Policing is your solution. The equation or the connection that I see with this situation is I never once saw Department of Education. I saw the district trying to put, as Danny mentioned, they did put this whistleblower anonymous online platform in place. Again, when someone goes and leverages that, we have that on the college level as well. Who's going to enforce it? Who's going to jump in and then say that punishment is not going to create an equitable solution? It typically creates the opposite of that. So where is the Department of Education to come in and assess and figure out where the holes are and the blind spots are, and to clean some house in some of these areas, and to put some metrics in place to ensure, as we were talking about, that those folks are being held accountable and 1% of the population is not out there trying to defend themselves against the masses? I saw none of that. And I think it's emblematic of the problem that we have just in our country in general, across different swaths of judicial, whether it be federal enforcement, whatever the case may be, is that oftentimes we are too little too late, and we're punitive. Again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of, we know the rest. And we don't typically see that. And I saw that all throughout this case as well. And shame on our educational system for continuing to put our educators and our kids in harm's way. And we continue to see it.
And Danny, I didn't mean to cut you off for the break. Was there anything else you had wanted to add?
I just think something needs to be done because this is going to be a little more frequency because what's normal is changing, right? What's abnormal, we're getting complacent, and a lot of things is becoming normalized. And the more this happens, whether we like it or not, it's becoming normalized because we start to see it. And the more you see it, the higher the frequency, the more normal it gets. And during that time, what me and Dr. Fletcher are talking about, to implement something after the fact is just not good for me. It needs to be preventative measures because our babies are dying in obscure places where we don't populate, and it's easy for them to be targets.
Sure, they're dying everywhere. They're dying here too, even in places where we
Yeah, they are. But just imagine if you away from any populous area where you don't see nobody like you, right? Yeah. For days or weeks, you know?
Yeah, and speaking of a post-racial society, when we come forward, it's going to be our Friday segment, What in the White Privilege, because there's a special someone who has to be involved in this segment today. And there actually was some competition, as there is always. But when we come forward, we're going to be bringing you What in the White Privilege right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
There's only a few days left for open enrollment, starting at $0 a month. LA Care Covered offers the benefits you need to achieve your health goals. $0 preventive services, 24/7 virtual care and nurse advice lines, walk-in minute clinics, free fitness and nutrition classes, and more. Become a member of LA's most affordable health plan. Get a free instant quote at lacarecovered.org. Have open enrollment questions? Connect with us today at 855-222-4239. Find your affordable path to wellness with LA Care Covered today.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. The Queen Sleep Number C2 smart bed is now only $9.90. Plus free home delivery when you add any base. Ends Monday. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
You're all set with your Medicare prescriptions, Mrs. Brown.
This is not just low-cost copays at Walgreens.
I can actually help you set up 90-day refills if you want.
This is having a partner you can trust. Get low-cost copays, 90-day refills, and delivery from your neighborhood Walgreens. This is being independent. Together. Walgreens.
Restrictions apply. For details, see walgreens.com/pharmacy.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And And we're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. And at long last, it's another edition of the group chat. It's been about a month since we had one of these with the holiday break and all that stuff. But we're back here with Dr. Sean Fletcher and Danny Griffin. And it is about that time for the segment we do here every Friday on the Friday edition for What in the White Privilege. Andy, who's at the door?
It's white. It's white. It's white. It's white. It's white.
Yes, it is. And the subject of this week's What in the White Privilege is one Charlie Kirk. He is the founder of Talking Points or Turning Point USA, whatever their stupid little organization is called. He's Turning Point USA. So in 2015, Charlie Kirk called Martin Luther King Jr. a hero. In 2022, not that long ago, he said that Martin Luther King Jr. was a quote unquote civil rights icon. But in December of 2023, just last month, speaking before a group of students and teachers at America Fest, a political convention organized by Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk struck a different tone. He said that, quote, MLK was awful. He's not a good person. He said one good thing that he didn't actually believe, close quote. So now this wasn't just something he just said off the top of his head. This is part of a strategy. He is trying to discredit MLK because he wants to discredit MLK's landmark legislation that he advocated for, which was the passing of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Now, Charlie Kirk says the Civil Rights Act, which bars discrimination on the basis of race, ushered in a permanent DEI-type bureaucracy, referring to diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what DEI stands for. So Charlie Kirk is saying that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 should have never happened. And that's not me paraphrasing. That's what he is actually saying. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, which bars discrimination on the basis of race. It ain't got nothing to do with hiring or diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's just so we don't get discriminated against. He's saying this shouldn't happen. And so this is just a reminder to you that when they come after affirmative action, when they come after DEI, what they're really trying to do, what they're really trying to say. And this is one reason why I wanted to make this part of the discussion today too, is because King Day is Monday. And you're gonna see a lot of conservatives talking about, oh, what a hero MLK was. We all have to adhere to his principles. And they say these things and it's such a gaslight because they don't mean it. But now this dude, who is a big part of the conservative movement, said the quiet part out loud. He said there should never even been a Civil Rights Act, y'all. He's actually saying this overtly. So come Monday, come King Day, when you see Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever other awful Republican person talking about how MLK was a hero of theirs, don't believe them. And don't forget that during that time, conservatives hated him. They hated him more than anyone. And now that they try to use his messages and quote him and talk about how King Day is important, don't listen to him because they don't mean it. And what they really want is for everything he worked for to get undone. Any thoughts to add to this, Dr. Fletcher?
I got a lot of thoughts, but I'll make them brief.
Go ahead, take your time, man. It's on you.
Again, this is a continuation of, and as much as I have to hold myself to this standard, but I also encourage those who are listening to do this as well. Don't be smokescreened or somewhat thrown off by some of the rhetoric around the Republican Party and Donald Trump being some sort of disorganized group of ragamuffins. No, that's not the case at all. While nefarious and I detest most of the things that they do in spirit and also in letter of it as well. The strategy has to be seen. And what did we say when Republicans took majority of the House and they started and Donald Trump packed the Supreme Court with conservatives, that they were taking aim to undo and roll back many of our civil rights measures over the decades. And this is just the latest of them. That you mentioned affirmative action, Roe v. Wade, they also took aim at, and see what you saw what happened with that. And they started to float and flirt with this whole civil rights, and they started poking holes in it and talking about reverse discrimination and talking about remember this post-racial society. Why do we need it anymore? Why do we need it anymore? Well, now, come full circle, we're in 2024, and now they're starting to turn the page and roll out the strategy of now further poking holes, not just in a civil rights icon, but now you have the gall to use a civil rights icon and a champion for justice and peace, no matter how flawed of a individual he may have been, as we all are, right? You use that as a segue in order to now start to take aim at your next civil agenda, which is to start rolling back the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I think that's the next aim. That's the next target that conservatives are taking aim at. And the interesting part that he also said, and I'll get off my soapbox with this as well, is that while he was talking about Dr. Martin Luther King, Kirk also mentioned, and this will sound very familiar as well, he said it's been understood on the right that even though Dr. King wasn't really one of us politically, he was still a quote unquote good liberal. Now, swap out some verbiage within that, and we've heard you one of the good ones before. They don't even try to hide. You want to talk about saying the quiet parts out loud, it's getting more and more egregious. And I think that's the next target that we're going to see. They're going to take aim at the Civil Rights Act and many of the measures and protective measures that has given many marginalized communities.
Yeah, I think that was actually, it was John was saying that about them. That's how they feel. I think that they understood that he was one of the quote unquote good liberals or the good N words, as they say. And so, but it just really highlights. And I had this once again this week. I had some Black Republican in my inbox sending me some videos. And I told him, look, I said, I'm not watching it. I'm not going to look at it. If you want to talk, I will talk to you on the air. Have the intestinal fortitude to call me. I'm not the best debater in the world. I don't know everything, but I just have enough conviction in what I believe in to have the discussion. So, Black Republicans, this is what y'all party is doing. Don't forget that. I don't know what it is. You can be conservative or fiscally conservative, whatever. Maybe that's why you're in the party, but y'all ain't even fiscally conservative anymore. Y'all just take out stuff for other people, but you do still spend money on yourselves. You still give yourself the tax cuts in the amounts that would be used to help people, but you just give it to yourself. And Black Republicans, your party is trying to undo the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Now, they already undid the 65 Voting Rights Act. In 2013 and 2014, the Supreme Court gutted that. Because like Dr. Fletcher said, we don't need it anymore, in air quotes. So just don't forget. Don't watch what they say, watch what they do. But in this case, they went ahead and said it too. Danny, your thoughts on this? You got a couple minutes here if you want to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you erase history, then you don't have to rewrite it. You don't have to move forward with diversity, because the main thing is don't create diversity. The main thing is division will come among people that don't have a collective anyway, right? It's going to come. And you have a lot of people. That's why the term kinfolk and skinfolk or whatever, however it go. That's why everybody look the same is not the same. It's going to be according to classism. That's why I say classism and how your pockets is, it runs deeper than your race a lot of times. Because if he's able to do this and smear Dr. Martin Luther King, and like you said, with the Voters' Right Act, and you got Roe versus Wade, isn't it ironic that all of these historical things that were passed are now becoming unraveled, even though literally some of them are not, but they're being attacked. The mere fact that them being attacked verbally on a nationwide or global scale is almost like it's being official anyway. Official or unofficial, this stuff is just amazing to me how we're going backwards as a country, and all it takes is the wrong leader to get in the driver's seat, and this whole thing could come unravel. And then and I hopefully I have my passport and be on a plane prior to that.
My wife says it all the time. Let me know when you're ready to leave the country. I'm down. and I'm not down yet, but I'm not saying that we'll never get to that point.
I pray not.
And if you're one of those people who say, well, no, they won't really try to undo the Civil Rights Act because too many people are in favor of it. Republicans do not care what people want. That's why you can have 80 to 90% of people in line on gun measures, on stricter gun laws, on background checks, and they don't care. They're still not gonna pass it. They don't care if the majority of people are in favor of universal health care. They don't want it. They don't care about serving the people. They want what they want. And that is to keep things white and to keep all the money for themselves. That's what they want. We can afford, I'm sorry, Andy. That's why Charlie Kirk is the subject of this week's What in the White Privilege.
It's white. It's white. It's white. It's white.
So when we come forward, we're going to be having a discussion that I've been wanting to have for a while. Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock. Stephen A. Smith finally went in with some receipts, and I'm not mad at him for doing so. And I know that we've talked about should one brother attack another brother, and my argument has always been, if the brother who's being attacked is someone who always attacks Black people, then yes, we should attack him for doing that. But I don't know how Dr. Fletcher and Danny Griffin are going to respond to this, but we will see. We will all find out together when we come forward after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's